Alright, let's do the chest plates here, and if you're getting tired of me extruding shapes and whatnot, that's fine. I understand. You guys can always kind of speed these along at your own pace. What I'm going to do here is just bring in that same polygon shape. All I want is the line outside of it, or the strokes outside of it, so I'll just fill that in. And then let's put this on a different layer. Kind of been digging having my timeline up there. It's something I haven't really done before, and I don't need to do it when I'm not teaching because there's like at least double this in screen space when I'm not capturing a smaller window size. But now that it's up there, I'm actually sort of getting used to it. So who knows? Okay, so I'm gonna. Well, let me do this. I want to make this line right here parallel to a line that I pull out from right here. So, something like that. You know what? I'll just drop that there and take off the parts that I don't need. Okay, and then with that in mind, I'm going to take this. And you'd think, oh, I'll go all the way right over there. I'm actually not going to do that. I'm just going to kind of do this thing that sort of looks like a wrap around, and what we do here is might be considered kind of fuzzy dimensionality. I mean, as you guys have figured out, we're kind of playing by our own rules at times. I mean, I'm trying to stay grounded in something that you could build in the real world. I don't really want to make one of those MC Escher type things that couldn't possibly exist. Some sort of infinite stairway in terms of my polygons, but at times, you just kind of see what looks right. And what can be a little confusing is you can have some of these lines can indicate that they are the shape itself, and other ones could be some sort of molding on top of the shape. So essentially, it's some sort of design aspect. And especially when we are just doing these lines on top of the kind of a flat surface, you can get away. I mean, visually, you can kind of get away with that. Your mind will just go, kind of give you a free pass. But it's it is when we start to shade things that that could be a problem. So I think what I'll do down here is actually add on a little bit, because I feel like if I want people to see that side of this, then we might as well do a little bit more over here too. So just something like that. And that's not what I'm trying to do, but if that looks good, we might leave it anyway. Let's see. Probably not. And I've gotten to one of those points where there's just too much vector action going on. I don't need all of you guys. And as you might have noticed, obviously what I'm doing on the on this side is being mirrored over here, and I need to. Well, you're not seeing that because it's tinted all the way up. But what I'll do is ultimately I'll take that tinting off and just use that same line data. So we should already have that one done. I think I think that actually looks a little bit better. Just going to try to keep some of these lines a little bit more parallel with their counterparts. And once I do that, I think I'll say sayonara to the chest plate. And I might continue that, but just leave it hanging there. Okay, now on this one, let's duplicate it. Then I can go ahead and just sample this color, and let's take that off. Then we'll just throw that in there. Get all that. You know, easier way to do that would just be to select everything. Okay. And I did want to just kind of double check to see how these two shapes look together before I committed to anything, and you know, I think they look good enough. So let's go ahead and let's fill in the color here. Okay, grab something a little softer than the yellow that we currently have, and throw that in there. Looks pretty good. We could do maybe a color a little bit less than that right there, and then let's see, just to give us some variation, maybe what we should do is actually close off, I don't know, yeah, we could try it. Oops. Close that off temporarily just so I can fill in this with a different color and see if that looks better, just a little darker, and then let's make this plane just a bit brighter than what we currently have. Okay, so we've got something like that. Let's go ahead and take the lines and set them down to about 20% on the alpha, and just so we've still got them in there for right now, but they're not too present. And let's go do this same thing over here. So our darkened side is over this way, and there we go. Let's make that a bit darker. I'm assuming this is kind of embossed in, or the darker plane, and I guess go ahead and do that same thing over here. Let's just see. That looks about right. Okay. Same deal. Let's set the stroke down. Okay. I do like that little bit of highlight over there. So let's see if we can keep that going just a bit. Let's do one more of those. Okay, that looks good. And if you want, you could always set this back to being kind of high, and or 100% on the alpha. Go over here to your properties. Let's set this to solid. Bump it up to about 4. And excuse me, just play around with a little extra line data if you just want to sort of experiment and kind of highlight some of what you've already done with these interior lines. And again, we'll kind of do. I mean, I think what we should do is do a lot of this in one kind of pass. But if you just wanted to get an idea of how this this could look, you know, do some things like that. And if you go with more than just kind of a line, you could also take a square and just put it over some of this and see what it might look like to entirely take away from this shape. So for example, well, here, let's do it down here. What if we removed this bottom part, right? So I'm just trying to, oh, kind of hard to select. There we go. So if we did something like that, and that kind of looks like we've removed a bit of it. You might have to go back in and draw kind of the top surface of that plane. And that's a sort of a weird area anyway. It's hard to tell where that point should go, but yeah, so there you go. It gives you kind of a nice little bit of extra detail. Let's try it over here. This plate is about 95% the size, so you might want to actually make that if you're gonna keep that in there. And yeah, it doesn't look bad. I mean, let's just throw it in for right now, and we'll just maybe get rid of it later. Probably too, if you were gonna do this, you would actually want to make that change inside of the shape itself, only because if you did put in some sort of drop shadowing or something like that, you would want to have that effect probably occurring over here too. Like, so for example, let's do an inner shadow, and well, this is maybe not the best example in the world, but you can get the point here. You'd probably want that effect to occur on the inside there, whereas, you know, because this is not actually taking out part of that shape, you're not going to get that in there. And at times too, you can work that to your advantage too. But I think in this case, you probably would want that. But that doesn't look that good anyway. One other thing you could do with this in mind, though, is go over here to your old parts library, and I'm going to paste in, well, here. I'm going to paste in one of these guys right here. And look what happened. Remember, these shapes just had that transparency in the background like that right there? Well, turns out I can do some interesting things, which I was even surprised by. This was kind of a happy accident. I really like this, though. I think it's a good shape. And it kind of, you know, when I took it out, I was like, wow, I sort of missed that. So it kind of opens up this robot to some sort of massive central attack. I mean, you know, it doesn't take Luke Skywalker, you know, hitting those little 2 bullet points in the Death Star to figure out that this is probably where you should hit this robot. But who knows? Maybe it could be like a false flag too. Like there's nothing here that helps him to survive, but people would just keep firing at that one point. So you know, let's try leaving that in, and then maybe we'll come back and fill in some sort of bit of data there. And again too, though, I do think your best bet is to always negate these shapes in actuality from the robot. But yeah, we'll just, you know, we're just trying things, so let's keep it as is. All right. And actually, speaking of extra shapes, we could go ahead. I sort of wanted to put in a little something right there, and let's go ahead and do that. So we'll just work with a shape like this, and I think what I'll do is make it a 3-sided cube, or I should say a cube with 2 vanishing points. Or is it 3? I confused myself now. Okay. Let me just draw the darn thing. Yeah, so something just like this. guess this is a cube with 3 vanishing points. Got one over there. One, wait. Yeah, one that way. And then this one down here. But I'm not actually drawing a perfect cube. I wanted something kind of like that. I was thinking he needed something in the way of like a rib cage, which these are little adornments here. I wouldn't call them some sort of shielding really. So something like that down here. And if we had, I'm just gonna make this into a symbol. So if we had a couple of those, all right. And maybe a couple more. That could look sort of cool. Just gonna give them a little bit of a tilt to go along down that spine. What do you guys think? Hot or not? Let's try it. Let's see. Might have to duplicate the ones on that side and shade them a little bit differently because, well, just because the light doesn't really work that other way. Let's duplicate these guys. I'll just call this, let me change in this, the library and the symbol. What is that? Symbol 68. Doing a great job of labeling things, aren't I? 68. Call this kind of ab thing. Abs thing. That's a good name for it. And then that way, when I duplicate this, I'll go abs thing 2. And then these ones, I'm going to go to swap symbol. So it's just over here, symbol, swap symbol. I have a hotkey for it. But it becomes easier to just select that and that. Okay, and now I can make that darker side over there. Let's make this a little darker on top. Those could probably stay about the same. But you know what, while I'm over here, I'm going to, well, I think both of these should come down a little bit. But now I can play with this side independently. And let's try making these lines kind of flow a little bit better. So I'm going to do the same thing over there. So yeah, something like that. I'm just kind of curious. I would like to see. I don't know. Just kind of seeing what could or could not work. That doesn't look bad though. Kind of one smaller one on top there. I might bring all these a little bit closer together because I sort of sort of like what's happening with making these planes sort of merge together. So let's see how that looks. There's something to it. I think if I took it away right now, I'd miss it. I'm gonna move this down just a little bit. It's kind of just throwing me off that they're not. I don't know. I know I have the body kind of curving back a little bit like that, but for right now, I'll just make that change. Yeah, it's getting there. I think it's a part we could use. Let's go ahead and make it into a symbol for right now. And I might even darken it up just a bit. Yeah. Okay, back with more in a video to come.